The old diner on Route 66, its neon sign flickering against the New Mexico dusk, was the kind of place where secrets came to rest. Martha Coleman, a retired schoolteacher with silver hair and a sharp eye, sat in her usual booth by the window, nursing a coffee that had gone cold. At 62, she'd seen enough of life to know when something was off, and tonight, the air felt heavy with it. The diner was quieter than usual, the jukebox silent, and the only other patrons were a trucker at the counter and a young couple whispering in the corner. Martha's gaze drifted to the man who'd just walked in, a stranger in a worn leather jacket, his eyes darting like he was running from something. His name was Daniel Harper, though Martha wouldn't learn that until later. He slid into a booth across from her, ordered a black coffee, and kept his head down. She noticed his hands, calloused, trembling slightly, gripping the menu like it was a lifeline. Martha had a habit of reading people, honed over decades of teaching teenagers who thought they could hide their troubles. This man wasn't just tired, he was scared. The diner's door swung open again, and two men in dark coats entered. They didn't order anything, just sat near the door, their eyes fixed on Daniel. Martha's stomach tightened. She'd read about trouble like this in the papers, debts, gangs, men who settled scores in places like this. But Route 66 wasn't Chicago or LA. It was a sleepy stretch of road where the worst crime was kids stealing gas station candy. Yet here it was, trouble, sitting 10 feet away. Daniel glanced at the men, then at Martha, his eyes pleading for something she couldn't name. She didn't know why she did it. Maybe it was the teacher in her, always protecting the vulnerable, but she stood, walked to his booth, and slid in across from him. "Mind if I join you?" she asked, her voice steady despite the pulse hammering in her throat. "Name's Martha. You look like you could use a friend." He froze, then nodded. "Daniel," he said, barely audible. "I'm in a bit of a mess." "Most folks are," she replied, keeping her tone light, but her eyes on the men by the door. "Want to tell me about it?" Daniel hesitated, then leaned in. "I owe some people money. A lot. I thought I could outrun them. But," he glanced at the men again. "They found me." Martha's mind raced. She'd seen enough crime shows to know this could go bad fast, but she wasn't about to let fear win. "How much?" she asked. 10 grand, he whispered. "I was supposed to deliver something for them, but it went wrong. Now they think I stole it." The diner's cook, a burly man named Frank, was wiping down the counter, oblivious to the tension. The young couple had left, and the trucker was engrossed in his pie. It was just Martha, Daniel, and the two men now, their presence like a storm cloud. One of them stood, his coat shifting to reveal the glint of a gun tucked into his waistband. Martha's breath caught, but she kept her face neutral. "Listen," she said, her voice low. "You stay calm. We'll figure this out." Daniel's eyes widened. "You don't understand. These guys don't negotiate." "Then we don't give them a chance to," she said. She reached into her purse, pulled out her phone, and typed a quick message to her old friend Sheriff Tom Reynolds, who was likely at the station 5 miles away. "Trouble at Rosie's Diner. 2 armed men. Hurry." She hit send, praying the signal was strong enough. The second man stood now, and both approached Daniel's booth. The taller one, with a scar across his cheek, spoke first. "Time's up, Harper. Where's the money?" Martha's heart pounded, but she leaned forward, her voice cutting through the tension. "Gentlemen, this is a public place. Whatever business you have, it can wait." Scarface sneered. "Stay out of this, lady." "I'm not staying out of anything," she snapped, her teacher's authority kicking in. "You're scaring folks, and I don't take kindly to that." The second man, shorter and wiry, laughed coldly. "You've got no idea who you're talking to." "I know enough," Martha said. "And I know the sheriff's on his way." The diner went silent. Daniel's face paled, and Scarface's hand twitched toward his gun. Martha held her ground, her eyes locked on his. "You pull that, and you'll have more than a sheriff to deal with," she said, bluffing. "This place has cameras, and folks around here don't forget faces." It was a lie. Rosie's Diner hadn't upgraded to cameras in years, but it bought her a moment. The men exchanged a glance, and the wiry one muttered, "We don't need this heat. Let's go." Scarface hesitated, then leaned close to Daniel. "You got one day, Harper. One day." They stormed out, the door slamming behind them. Daniel exhaled, shaking. "Why'd you do that? You could have gotten hurt." Martha shrugged, though her hands were trembling now. "Didn't seem right, them ganging up on you like that." Sheriff Reynolds arrived 10 minutes later, his cruiser pulling up with lights flashing. Martha explained everything, and Daniel, after some coaxing, spilled the truth. He'd gotten mixed up with a smuggling ring, promised easy money, but when the deal went south, they pinned it on him. Tom promised to look into it, and Daniel was taken to the station for protection. The next day, Martha learned the men had been picked up outside town, their car full of evidence that tied them to a larger operation. Daniel was cleared, though he'd have to testify. He stopped by the diner to thank Martha, his eyes no longer haunted. "I don't know why you helped me," he said, "but I won't forget it." Martha smiled, pouring him a fresh coffee. "Sometimes, you just have to stand up to bullies. Doesn't matter how old you are." The diner returned to its usual rhythm, the neon sign buzzing, the jukebox humming. But for Martha, that night was a reminder. Courage doesn't fade with age, and justice, however small, is worth fighting for. What do you think, folks? Was Martha right to step in, knowing the risks? How do you feel about standing up to violence and injustice in everyday life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's hear your take.